I would like to ask the audience to stand in honour of the academic parade. It is my pleasure to invite the graduating students of the 2013 class to take their places. Followed by Professor Gabi Schreiber, Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences. Professor Mark Clarfield and Professor Richard Deckelbaum, BGU and Columbia University Directors of the Medical School for International Health. Professor Tzvi Cohen, Rector of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev. And now Professor Rivka Karmi, President of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev. Please be seated. Distinguished guests, faculty members, students, families and friends, thank you for coming and honouring us with your presence. I'd like to give a special welcome to families and friends from abroad who are watching the ceremony live over the internet. I would like to invite the BGU Director of MSIH, Professor Mark Clarfield, to make his opening remarks.
Mike is always telling me where to go. Professor Rivka Karmi, our President, Professor Tzvi Cohen, our Rector, Gabi Schreiber, our Dean, the faculty, my friend and colleague Richard Deckelbaum, and our devoted faculty and MSIH staff. I especially want to welcome Dr. Sherwin Newland, our speaker, about whom you'll hear anon. But most importantly, I want to speak to you, our graduating class of 2013, your families and friends, both here and I know they're watching from abroad. First of all, Mazal Tov, congratulations, félicitations to you all. It gets better. In thinking about what I wanted to say this evening, I realized that you, the class of 2013, are my first full cohort, right? As some here will recall, I just taken over the job from my able predecessor, Dr. Carmi Margolis. Carmi, you here? My able predecessor, where is it? Just put up your hand. There he is, my able predecessor. In May 2009, just a very few months before your arrival here in Beersheba, and as you will no doubt recall, you came to a school which apparently, suddenly, and without any prior warning, had just seemed to have lost its bearings in the field of international health. This due to promulgation of fairly draconian new regulations by American authorities preventing us from sending you abroad. With justice, perhaps some of you might have thought that we'd sold you a bill of goods. The truth is that we were just as surprised as anybody else by this regulatory turn of events. And in fact, the whole international organization has grown up to fight, or to not fight, but to deal with these regulations, including the UK, Australia, New Zealand, schools in these countries, Canada, Israel. It did take a couple of years, a large amount of time, travel to the US, lobbying, transfer of large sums of money to our DC lawyers, but we were finally able to overcome this obstacle. And you, the class of 2013, my first class, were the first to be able to really enjoy this success. And this past year you went abroad, you studied, you enjoyed, you learned, you went and studied global medicine. And as you, the graduating students, know only too well, our school and its curriculum are challenged by a dual focus. First and foremost, First and foremost, you have to be good doctors. This emphasis must and has always taken priority over anything else we teach you. But as just alluded to, we also have a mission in global medicine, which must be integrated, and we do integrate it into the curriculum over 4 years. Other schools offer it as a track, as an elective, as an interest group, but not in our school. And at MSIH, after ensuring that we teach you how to be good doctors, global medicine is still the focus of this school. Returning to the dual focus, your USMLE exam results, your terrific match this year suggests that for the most part, we seem to be getting it right, getting the balance right. I'd also like to just briefly address another development you, the graduating class, will be the first to enjoy, albeit I know slightly, only marginally. And this is the recent formation of our Alumni Association. Someone out to get me? Together, with a lot of support and encouragement from the administration, this body is now up and running, and in contradistinction to other alumni associations, we don't ask them for any money. We just ask them to help our students with the match, with electives, with residency placement. And we hope you people will join the Alumni Association tomorrow. Right, you'll be graduates tomorrow. You well know that medical school is only one step, albeit quite an important one in your development as a doctor. You've all passed this crucial step. We're celebrating this lovely event tonight. You've succeeded with aplomb, and I congratulate you for that. So please stay in touch with us. You are now doctors, or you will be in a very few minutes. You're our alma mater. Be in touch with us and stay with us. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Mazal tov.
I would like to invite Professor Rivka Karmi, President of the University, to address the audience.
Professor Cohen, Professor Schreiber, Professor Deckelbaum, Professor Claufield, our graduation speaker, Dr. Sherwin Newland, families both here and abroad. Where is the abroad, please? Is it there? Over there? Okay. Faculty and students, distinguished guests, and last and foremost, our dear graduates and young colleagues. The graduation ceremony of the Medical School for International Health is, for me, one of the most exciting annual events here at Ben-Gurion University. I have been very closely involved with the school foundation some 15 years ago. I was teaching the second-year genetic course for almost a decade. But more than anything, I cherish and admire the mission of the school and the unique quality and spirit of its students. The mere idea of an international collaboration with the goal to implement an MD program in international medicine and health is still a novel medical education endeavor and an innovative model for teaching medicine in the globalization era of the 21st century. The innovation of developing a unique curriculum that, in parallel to the standard MD studies, provides a wide exposure, including hands-on experience, to cross-cultural global health and medicine is quite obvious. But what is even more novel is a sustained partnership between two esteemed institutions that are ocean apart, yet maintain a common vision and a realization that globalization means not only having campuses over and abroad, but also teaming up to address global issues, in our case, of health in developing world and underserved communities. Many dedicated faculty members and administrative staff have put their hearts and souls into this endeavor, and we are very grateful to all of them. However, it is to you, our soon-to-be graduates, that we owe maybe the largest part of the growth and development of this special and unique program. You came here with a strong conviction to make a difference, knowing what a great adjustment you will need to do in your own life. Your personal experiences, surviving and flourishing in a different culture and environment, and in trying and charging and challenging times, have undoubtedly played a major role in your international, intercultural education and training. But moreover, you've inspired us all with your insights, involvement, and contributions of courses, your impressive accomplishments, as well as achievements. In one of 2006 issues of the Beshit, the Medical Student Association's magazine, Susan Oakley of the 2007 graduating years wrote a moving article on her MSIH experience, and I now cite her every year on graduation because she has made such a great point. Have there been misshapes here? She wrote, of course. I've learned from these mistakes, I hope. Like the time I realized the minute difference in Hebrew between tired and beautiful, after telling the Ulpan teacher how very, very beautiful I was because I hadn't been sleeping well. And then she said, for me, it means accepting human imperfection. We will all make fools of ourselves at some point. And realizing that errors in interactions don't arise unless there is an effort being made to try and understand one another, unquote. I would like to add to this beautiful assertion that global health is indeed about understanding the problems and the needs of the other, the different, the strange, but it is also about accepting, appreciating, respecting of other cultures, different attitudes, strange beliefs. These virtues, indeed, are inherent to the medical profession, but not always obvious, especially when it comes to doctors' day-to-day practice. I know, my friends, you will be role models to your peers and colleagues that were not educated here in leading doctor-patient communication and human understanding-based medical care. Today, you are officially joining the medical profession that more than anything is a way of life and a lifelong commitment. You are also joining a growing body of alumni, agents of our own mission here at Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, to bring health and science from the Negev to the world in order to improve the lives of individuals and communities. We know that you will be proud of your alma mater as much as we shall be proud about you, and always. I would like to take this opportunity to especially thank your families, who in spite of their understandable apprehension and anxieties throughout the years that you have spent here in this unrestful region, supported you nevertheless as you pursued your goals. I truly, truly appreciate and admire their spirit, and I would like you, my friends, graduates, to stand up, please, and give your families a huge round of applause, please, here and abroad as well. Thank you. You can see. The renowned physician William Osler once said, as physicians, we should strive to cure few, help most, but comfort all. I wish you, my young colleagues, good health, good luck, success and satisfaction, and may you help curing most and comforting all wherever you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Karmi. I would like to invite the Rector of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, Professor Tzvi HaKohen, to address the audience.
Professor Rivka Karmi, President of the University, Professor Gabi Schreiber, Dean of the Faculty, Professor Mark Clarfield, Program Director at BGU, and Professor Richard Deckelbaum, Program Director from Columbia University Medical Center. Dr. Sherwin Newland, our guest of honor, faculty, graduates, family, and guests. It's a pleasure to congratulate you on your graduation ceremony of the Ben-Gurion University and Columbia University Joint Program in International Health. Medical research caters predominantly for the needs of the affluent world. The pharmaceutical industry spends 60% of its budget on diseases that affect only 10% of the world's population. The major criterion in our capitalistic world is the patient's ability to pay. However, this attitude leaves entire nations, amounting to over 1 billion people worldwide, under or not at all treated medically. Not only is this immoral, but it also proves time after time to be a penny-wise and pound-foolish approach. Neglected disease of the third world can be spread at frightening speed and become pandemic diseases. In many cases, the spread of one disease sets the ground for others. The presence of intestinal worms, which are of widespread occurrence in many African countries, decreases the ability of the immune system to resist the AIDS virus, consequently increasing susceptibility of the virus. While the treatment of AIDS is very expensive, treatment of intestinal worms is low cost, reducing the risk of infection of AIDS. But this you don't know unless you go to MSIH. Similarly, malaria would have been eradicated a long time ago had it been located in affluent parts of the world. Unfortunately, ignoring malaria results in the development of mosquitoes that are resistant to all known antibiotics. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said 2,400 years ago, whoever practices the art of medicine should concentrate on treating the diseases which are predominant among the common people. The program of which you have just graduated is trying to work countercurrent and produce doctors who care about all patients, rich or poor. You should be proud of yourselves choosing this honorable direction in your lives. You will be rewarded in things that in the end matter more than money, internal satisfaction and gratitude from patients you will treat. Lawyers hope for more clients, professors for more students, while physicians are the only ones that would like to eradicate disease, their source of income. However, this goal is not likely to be reached soon, and none of you is likely to be unemployed. While current medicine is statistically based, medicine of the very near future is going to be more individual, DNA-based. In this area, the need for physicians familiar with different traits will be even more pressing. Your training in international health and the professional skills you have developed will serve you well to meet the unexpected challenges and endeavors you will face in your career as physicians. On behalf of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, I would like to wish you all a lot of success and the fulfillment of your goals and dreams. Wherever you go, you will be our ambassadors. Shalom.
Thank you, Professor Cohen. I would like to invite the Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences, Professor Gabi Schreiber, to address the audience.
BGU President, Rector, Co-Directors of MSIH, Dr. Newland, our guest from Yale, devoted faculty and MSIH staff, dear students, families, and friends here this evening. I want to warmly congratulate you all on this special evening. To be accepted and to successfully complete medical school is no easy task, and I would like to take this opportunity to recognize your accomplishments. 35 years ago, a medical school for Israeli students was opened in the middle of the desert. The Negev Desert comprises over 60% of the land of Israel. Its residents comprise one of the most unusual ethnic mixtures in the world. Who are the people of the Negev? They are immigrants from North Africa, Ethiopia, India, Europe, North and South America, and the republics of the former Soviet Union. They are Bedouin Arabs and Jews born in Israel. From the beginning, the school aimed to promote excellence in students who wish to be at the forefront of a new kind of medical education, to train students to be aware not only of their patients' medical problems, but also of their psychological and social backgrounds. The patient is regarded as a human being, part of a family, a community, and a culture, factors which must be taken into account when treating an illness. Thus, we aim at producing a different kind of physician, possessing the Beersheba spirit. In the late 90s, again, our medical pioneers, some of them sitting here with us this evening, had a vision to develop another kind of medical school in the faculty, to be devoted to the important subject of global health. As Professor Klafil pointed out, the subject of global health in MSIH is not a track, not an elective, but a focus for the whole curriculum. And so the decision to open a new international school for global medicine was a natural extension of the faculty focused on the patient and the community. I warmly congratulate you all for choosing our school. As a psychiatrist and a psychotherapist, and in accord with the Beersheba spirit, allow me to quote John Nemiah, who served as president of the American Psychiatric Association. It would be far easier if we could avoid the patients as we explore the realm of psychopathology. It would be far simpler if we could limit ourselves to examining the chemistry and physiology of his brain, and to treating mental events as objects aligned to our immediate experience, or as mere variables in impersonal statistical formula. Important as these approaches are for the understanding of human behavior, they cannot alone uncover or explain all the relevant facts. To see into the mind of another, we must repeatedly immerse ourselves in the flood of his associations and feelings. We must ourselves be the instrument that sounds him. In fact, by simply replacing brain with body, mental with physical, we could and in fact should enlarge the scope of Nemiah's words to address doctor-patient relationship in general. As a dean, I take special interest in the measurable metrics of your academic success. For example, your USMLE exam grades and the impressive match results again this year. I am very confident that you will be doing your residency at some of America's finest hospitals and universities. In closing, I would like to repeat Dr. Klafil's invitation to keep in touch with BGU, come back to visit us here in Beersheba, and involve yourselves with the MSIH students who will be following in your footsteps. I wish you all the best of luck in the future. Thank you, and again, congratulations.
Thank you, Professor Schreiber. I'd like to invite the Columbia University Director of the Medical School for International Health, Professor Richard Deckelbaum, to address the audience.
President Carmi, honorable colleagues, and almost doctors of 2013, and your families, thanks so much for coming. And I'm going to be bringing greetings from Columbia University and special greetings from Dean Lee Goldman, and as well from the, I guess, more than 400 Columbia faculty and staff who have participated, who have helped MSIH and MSIH students. And where's the camera? This is special greetings from the New York office. Sarah Sternglass, Alice Mahoney, Denise Methoyer, and not far away, there's Dr. Lynn Quittel sitting in the front row. But this year, one person is missing. And it's with great sadness and great memories that I talk of the sudden passing last November of one of MSIH's key pillars and that's Pamela Cooper. Pamela was with MSIH from its embryonic beginnings. She had great vision. She was a strategic thinker, planner, and implementer, and also a terrific analyzer. For example, it was Pamela who coordinated our alumni survey, our first big alumni survey, which showed that over 40% of alumni respondents were meaningfully engaged in global health activities. Doesn't mean they were all working in the Sudan, but they were doing in their own settings global health work. We miss Pamela, and we're very lucky that Sarah Sternglass has now assumed the role of administrative director of the MSIH in New York, and Sarah's really terrific, and I hope you get to know her. So, class of 2013, you're about to graduate from a distinct medical school, a school where you've learned, and in so many ways, lived global health here in the surroundings of Beersheba. And I'd like to stress that global health involves cross-cultural medicine abilities, but it's more than that. And one aspect I'd like to emphasize this evening is the ability to work across sectors. Let me mention an example. A couple of years ago, I co-chaired a nutrition meeting in Namibia with Namibian Prime Minister Angula. Has 2 Columbia degrees, by the way. And he introduced the meeting, greeted everyone, and said, Namibia has really excellent financial resources. And Namibia also has increasing maternal mortality over the last 10 years. Despite the fact that we have UNICEF's vitamin A program, subclinical vitamin A deficiency is decreasing in Namibia. Despite the fact that we have legislated and countrywide salt ionization, goiter is increasing in Namibia. He said, what's wrong? He says, well, I can't get my ministers or my ministries to talk to each other. And he says, and they don't talk to the stakeholders. So there's no back and forth, there's no communication. And it reminds me of what is a distinct aspect of MSIH. Since its inception, you students, as graduates and other students who are here, have had a very important and respected role in MSIH. This morning, I guess it was in the afternoon, early afternoon, we had a meeting with the first year class on a recent administrative issue. No, I'm not going to go into details. And this type of dialogue between MSIH administration, MSIH faculty, and the students has been an essential part of MSIH and your education. And I really don't know of any other school where these dialogues are so productive and so open. So I would like to encourage graduates and colleagues, as you go forward as doctors, take with you the ability to continually communicate with the different sectors you'll be engaged with. Listen and learn from the stakeholders. That's the populations and the patients with whom you will be working and with whom you will be partnering. Good luck to each of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dickelbaum. We will now listen to David Ransom, one of today's graduates. I will leave it to David to introduce the piece he will be playing.
So, this instrument, oud, or the oud, has been played in the Middle East for more than 2,000 years in something very close to its present form. And it also has a place in the development of European music, where it was innovated into the lute and the mandolin, among other things. The piece that I'm going to play is called La Mabada Yatathadna. It was composed in southern Spain, or Andalusia, in the Middle Ages, in Arabic, and there are some portions I'm going to sing in Hebrew that were composed or adapted by my teacher, Yoel Ben Simchon. It's also customary to play an improvisation that introduces the musical mode in which the piece will be played. Good.
Thank you, David. I just want to add another little piece here. For your information, David arrived in Israel 4 years ago and he knew at the time no Hebrew. He's now fluent, both verbal and written. I'm told he did the same with Arabic, and his spare time while he was studying medicine, he also learned to play the oud. Thank you, David. I would like to call upon Professor Mark Clarfield to introduce our distinguished guest of honour.
Thank you. I also want to thank David. That was terrific. As a fellow musician, I was very impressed. It reminds me that we're not in Kansas anymore, are we? But returning to the United States, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest of honor and speaker. Dr. Sherwin Nuland is a professor of surgery at the Yale School of Medicine, where he received his MD just a few years ago in 1955. He went on to do his surgical training at Yale during the same period that our own Professor Shimon Glick was doing his residency in internal medicine. So we have a surgeon and a general internist from Yale right here in the front row. At present, Dr. Nuland is the chairman of the board of managers of the Journal of the History of Medicine and the editorial board of the Perspectives in Biology of Medicine. He was a member of the Bioethics Committee of Yale New Haven Hospital from its founding until 2000. And he's the author of many books, some of which I've read, almost all, but not quite all, including Doctors, the Biography of Medicine, Medicine, the Art of Healing, and I think his most famous, How We Die, for which Dr. Nuland won the National Book Award and for which he was finalist for the Pulitzer Prize. He's married to Sarah Peterson Nuland, who's here with us today, and the father of 4 children, one of whom, Drew, is also here with us today. And the other, one of his children, is Victoria Nuland, the spokesperson for the State Department. You might have heard of her. Dr. Nuland, we're truly honored to have you with us. S'il vous plaît.
After David, I feel like a standing anticlimax. But I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for your parents. But mostly, I'm excited for myself because this is such an exciting opportunity for an old fellow like me. I love graduates of medical schools, especially offbeat medical schools like this one. And you know, I don't have a long list of academic, distinguished faculty to address, and I'm not even addressing your parents. I'm addressing only 27 people, almost all 27 of whom are here. And I know I'm jumping the gun, but you are already, to me, my fellow physicians. You are my colleagues in the class of 2013. And at this moment, you stand, in the words of the great American poet, Walt Whitman, between things ended and things begun. You are about to take on a new identity. For the rest of your lives, you will be defined in the eyes of society and in your own eyes, your own inward-searching eyes as well, by that title, doctor. You'll awake with it each morning. You'll take it to bed with you each evening, and it will walk with you in your dreams every night. Of course, for the next few years, the dreams will be short because the sleep will be short. But you're young and healthy and you survived the desert, so I'm sure your residency won't stop you for a moment. May those dreams, as short as they are, be peaceful and sweet. May they be the dreams of a man or woman who carries the burden of healing as something more than a profession, who carries it in its noblest sense as a calling. It's a precious burden because it's not only the burden of human life, it is in more ways than you yet realize the burden of nurturing the human spirit, your own human spirit, as well as those of your patients. From this day forth, or as John F. Kennedy would say, from this place forth, you're beginning to build a new self-image, which before your first year of residency is a quarter over, a fifth over, maybe 2 hours over. You'll wear as naturally as the skin you were born with. You will, before long, ever wonder that ever was a time in your lives when you did not think of yourself as a doctor. When writing those 2 letters, MD, after your name, felt as pretentious or as strange as it might when you try it later this evening, for example. Get used to it. You're doctors now. In a much shorter time than you realize, you will, with a sense of natural ease, don the glorious mantle of responsibility that might, at this moment, feel just a little awkwardly placed on your tentative shoulders. That mantle, about to be given to you by your faculty, will fit you much better even at that instant than you think. You, as you well know, are a highly selected group. You've successfully run one of the toughest intellectual gauntlets that our educational system and even our society sets up for the best of its young people. You're being sent out by the faculty of your school, and I like to think by me too, with more than confidence. You are being sent out with pride. The original followers of Hippocrates, of whom you heard mention a few moments ago, and of whom you are now the heirs, were the first to separate themselves from other would-be healers by the twin virtues of observation and of ethics. They taught the necessity of the objective use of the 5 senses in evaluating systems, and the necessity of abandoning dependence on the magical, either in the causation of disease or in its cure. They taught the necessity that a physician must live by a code of morality that is beyond reproach. They taught the necessity to teach, and with that, they instilled into our calling the sense of proud parenting we have always had in imparting our knowledge to those who come after us. They taught us that as much as it is in our powers of healing, it's our code of ethics and our feeling of responsibility. Odontology, as the ethicists call it. That's what sets us apart. The Hippocratics created the concept that medicine is a calling, a response to an inner voice that tells one individual among many that he or she has the intellectual and moral wherewithal to take on the burden of healing his or her fellows. Notice I use the word heal. I'm not using the word cure. You will soon see the difference, and I'm sure probably just about every one of you already knows the difference. There are those who refer to this calling as a priesthood. We and you who bear that mantle should remember that it is a privilege. As we seek to discover ourselves, we might also seek to find out what happened to that code of ethics that emphasized to a Greek physician of the classical period that the only decision that counts, the only basis for medical decision-making, must be the good of his patient. Well, the ethical Greek Principia was at first strengthened by melding with the Judeo-Christian tradition of charity and the value of individual human life, as well as the specifically Jewish obligation of tikkun olam, the healing of the world. In the 10th and 11th century, it was further strengthened by the humanistic tradition of Muslim medicine, is exemplified by such, and these names may be familiar to you, Razi's, Haile Ben Abbas, and of course, Avicenna. It was strengthened once more by the teaching of the moral philosophers in Scotland, England, Germany, and France, in the 18th and 19th centuries. But then, following the technological innovations of the late 20th and early 21st centuries, new influences appeared in Israel, in the United States, in all Western European countries, and they were often not good ones, such as a certain commercialization, demands of government, special interest lobbies, and the obnoxious grandstanding of the occasional ambitious politician. The core of goodness within our true medical ethics has been put at risk, sometimes in danger of being lost, almost lost. But I should add, never lost, and it will never be lost. The core of goodness that is the foundation of medical ethics is today, as it has been since the days of Hippocrates, the morality of the individual physician, your morality. And here I'm speaking of something you did not learn in medical school. It's something you brought here with you, something that the members of the admissions committee sensed within you that made them choose you to come here. You learned it at the knee of those very proud parents and grandparents who surround you on this celebratory day. Morality and a sense of obligation to others may be preached from pulpits and lecterns, but ultimately, it can only be learned in the day-to-day transactions of the home that add up to the set of values that drew you to the study of medicine in the first place. And so, in discovering yourselves as physicians, I would ask first that you discover the basic morality and decency and caring that brought you to this school and to the study of medicine. And discover also that you share it with your classmates and the physicians who will follow you, whom you yourselves will be teaching. The very name by which we are called, doctor, is derived, as most of you probably know, from the Latin verb docere, to teach. We are teachers to every other physician or student who is within our ambiance. Sometimes it's hard to remember, especially after the years of biomedical high-tech education and what has been estimated at the 40,000 pages you've probably read in the last 4 years. You should hold your chin, as a matter of fact. Believe it or not, you did that. And who knows how many laboratory hours that the goal of the practice and the research in medicine is first and foremost to relieve human suffering. Your first duty to your patient is to give him, to give her comfort. It's the same goal as it was in the days of Hippocrates. And it's sometimes hard to remember that as magnificent as have been the accomplishments of medicine since we first threw in our lot with science about 150 years ago, that the art of healing, as the Greeks called it, remains ultimately an art, a humanistic endeavor that uses the methods of science to help solve the problems of its patients. I would ask that in trying to discover this new you that is a doctor, you discover our shared tradition. Begin with our terminology, and here let me suggest a very simple example. Look up the etymology of the word patient. You'll discover a fascinating thing. You'll discover that it traces back to the Latin patior, to endure or to suffer. The Indo-European root of patior is a word pronounced paean, which we would spell P-A-E-N, which is also the root of the word compassion. This may be the clue to everything about being a good doctor. Your compassion and your patient belong together. Part of our shared tradition is, of course, our history. A journey backward will teach you many lessons. We approach medical problems the way we do because we've traveled a long road to get to where we are today. There are historical reasons that our profession has taken this road and not some other one, and you'll discover what those reasons are. You'll learn a great deal about the nature of man. Whether you study the history of medicine or just practice medicine, you will be the philosophers of mankind, which is what physicians really are. Why mankind, humankind? Why does he or she make the choices that we do? Why certain types of choices are fraught with peril and others are a great deal more safe? Some of you will be leaders of medicine, either in your own communities, nationally, or internationally. These lessons of our history are lessons you need to learn well. And you also need to learn the lessons of literature and graphic art and music, certainly. The ultimate expression of emotion. The ultimate expression, I believe, of love. And you have just experienced that. These will enrich your understanding of the universality of human nature and the depths of the human spirit. The history of medicine is the history of human nature. As the great historian Fielding Garrison put it a little more than 100 years ago, quote, "The history of medicine is in fact the history of humanity itself, with its ups and downs, its brave aspirations after truth and finality, its pathetic failures. All human life is there." Without knowing how we got here, you will not be able to help your generation of doctors take the next step. In fact, the next steps, and what are these next steps? We should talk about them just a little bit. Where has all of our history and all of our tradition brought us? It has brought us to a time when we splice one gene to another and look for ways to use them in therapeutics, when we transplant hearts and lungs at the same time and expect success 8 times out of 10, that's the most current figure, when we undo 60 years of cholesterol and cigarettes by inserting a balloon made in a shop or a stent into someone's coronary artery, when we operate on babies still in the womb. These are the benefactions of biomedical science, and I don't necessarily ask you to add to them. I ask you to think about them and remember one thing about them. For the first time in the history of our calling, our inventiveness has exceeded our resources to bring this most modern of care patterns to our own people and to the people of the world. The latter purpose being, as you well know far better than I, a particular mission of the great school from which you are graduating today. The question with which we must grapple, with which you must now grapple, is not the question of adding more biotechnology to our armamentarium. It's the question of bringing that biotechnology to our patients and to those who would be our patients if they had equal access to us. And in this, I include the underserved populations of this planet we share. This is why you have chosen MSIH. If your voyage is a successful one, it will lead you to the ever-recurrent theme in our history that every one of us sooner or later recognizes as the essence of the art of healing, that steady state in the history of our profession that's unchanging, the steady state that is the unique mixture of science and of humanism that we call the doctor-patient relationship. Francis Well Peabody, a Harvard professor, told a class of senior medical students almost a century ago that the secret of caring for the patient is in caring for the patient, caring about him or her as an individual. Now, as many of you know, that quotation has been repeated countless times before countless students and doctors, because we know, all of us who've been at this, even for a little while, that those words identify the greatest key to being a good doctor and its greatest reward as well. But we forget, or some of us never knew, that Dr. Peabody said something else too, just a few sentences before that famous line. He said, quote, "The science of medicine must not be allowed to interfere with the art of medicine. They are not antagonistic, but supplementary to each other." And we forget also, or perhaps we never knew, that he felt so strongly about these matters because he was himself both a doctor and a patient at the time he spoke them. He had been diagnosed with a widespread colonic malignancy that would take his life at the age of 47, only a few months later. So he knew, as a highly skilled physician, what the science of medicine might be capable of, but he also knew, as a physician and as a patient, that the art of medicine must never be lost. He knew that the pastoral role of a physician, just a few words, think about them once in a while in the coming years, the pastoral role of the physician must never be lost, must never be forgotten. It is paramount. It is a paramount art, a paramount good that must be maintained by us, by you, and by generations of physicians to follow. The teachers of my generation of students cautioned against the perils of what they called emotional involvement with patients. One must not, they taught, allow oneself to feel what the patient feels. Well, perhaps a doctor cannot, in truth, feel a patient's organic pain, but I would advise you to feel her loneliness, feel his loneliness, because every person ultimately faces sickness alone. Trying to heal a sick person without knowing his loneliness is like trying to coach a soccer team, or as it's called in this country, a football team, without knowing what it feels like to kick a ball. You just can't do it very well. And here I'll quote one of the great medical humanists of the late 19th century. Hermann Nothnagel, professor of medicine at the University of Vienna during the greatest period of that great school's evolution. Nothnagel said, quote, "Only a good person, a person of goodness, can be a good doctor." You've already discovered the wonders of biotechnology. That's, to a great extent, what you've been doing for the past 4 years. Now discover or rediscover the goodness and the morality that is within yourselves. Care a little less about the hot pursuit of science, and care just a little bit more about our art. Care a little less about what is inside the cell, and a lot more about what is inside the man or woman. Care a little bit less about this new thing called biomedicine, and care a lot more about this old thing that we call healing. Look into the eyes of the sick and see your reflection there. Is it a face of compassion, or is it a face only of cold clinical science? As I speak of seeing your reflection in the eyes of the sick, I should speak also of the lesson taught by a poet not much older than yourselves, probably younger than a few of you, Percy Shelley. In his essay, A Defense of Poetry, written when he was 28 years old, Shelley wrote this, quote, "A man, to be greatly good, must imagine intensely, incomprehensibly. He must put himself in the place of another and of many others. The pains and pleasures of his species must be his own. The great instrument of moral good," wrote Shelley, "is the imagination." It's moral imagination that makes a great doctor. The capacity of imagining, empathizing, if you will, with the pains and the pleasures of our patients, and also the capacity to see ourselves through their eyes, to comprehend their expectations of us, and to live up to their image of what a doctor should be, because in the end, it is in our patients' eyes that we should be seeing the most beneficent image of ourselves. I'd ask you, and this is my final request, I promise you, you're really anxious to get that diploma, I know, so I'll cut this right at this moment. I'd ask you to extend your caring out from your own patients to the community, your home community, and the greater national and international communities of which we're all a part, and for which your education here has so well prepared you. It's time to take our grand tradition of ethics also out into the world, and for this obligation we have particular trust in the graduates of this great school. Rudolf Virchow, who created the cell theory of disease in the middle of the 19th century, felt keenly that social and economic ills of the cause are far more disease than has ever been brought about by uncontrollable biologic phenomena. He was an advocate of sanitation in slums, universal health care, and the concept that those with privileges are responsible for the well-being of those without. And by this is meant those nations as well as those individuals. The nation of Israel and your teachers have understood this very well. Tikkun olam, physicians, Virchow wrote, are the natural attorneys, the natural advocates of the poor. By coming here, you have chosen to be your brother's keeper. This is the nature of the art. This is the nature of the responsibility to which you have been called. And so, fellow physicians, Godspeed. The moral stature of our calling is in your hands, and you have proven yourselves highly qualified to carry it and bring it forward. You inherit a 24-year-old, 2,400-year-old tradition. Your faculty and I place it in your keeping with confidence and with pride. May your efforts be blessed.
Thank you, Dr. Nolan. I would now like to invite the Rector to read the formal wording of the diploma. Students, please rise.
I hereby declare that you have completed your studies and successfully fulfilled all the necessary requirements in accordance with Ben-Gurion University's Constitution and bylaws, and based on your achievements and on the recommendation of the Council of the Faculty of Health Sciences, the Senate of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev confers upon you this day, Thursday, May 23rd, 2013, the degree of Doctor of Medicine.
I would like to invite Professor Carney, Professor Cohen, and Professor Schreiber to present the MD diplomas to the graduates. Students, you'll be coming up from Asher, you'll be coming up from this side. Okay? Presenting physician parents, I'd like you also to be ready, please. I invite Doctors Clarfield and Deckelbaum to read the names of the graduates in alphabetical order.
Asher Burko, doing pediatrics. Maimonides Infants and Children's Hospital in Brooklyn, New York.
Jamie Blyer. Emergency medicine at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio.
It's a tradition of our school that if a graduate has a physician parent or sibling, they may award the diploma. In this case, I would like to call Dr. J. Block to confer on his daughter, Deborah Block, who will be doing pediatrics at St. Christopher's Hospital for Children, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Jared Bragg, emergency medicine, Memorial Hospital Medical Center in Brooklyn. Congratulations.
Nicola Brody, pediatrics, St. Christopher's Hospital for Children in Philadelphia.
Susan Chang. No. Susan. No, sorry, no. Sorry. Keiko Chen. Research in infectious disease and learning medical Spanish in Guatemala.
Susan Cheng, Global Clinical Research Training Program at Harvard Medical School.
And I'd like to invite Dr. John Paul Curchia to present the diploma to his son, Benjamin Curchia. Benjamin is going to be doing pediatrics at Mount Sinai School of Medicine at Elmhurst Hospital, Queens, New York.
Rajpal Dayal will be doing internal medicine at Albert Einstein Montefiore in New York.
And we'll be sending letters to Sanjay Dayal, doing psychiatry at Duke University Medical Center in Durham, North Carolina.
I'd like to invite Dr. Jackson Downey to present the diploma to his son, James Downey, who will be in Kansas doing pediatrics at Kansas University Medical Center, Kansas City.
Invite Rachel Durham. Dunham. Sorry, Dunham. Family medicine at Memorial Hospital in Indiana, South Bend.
I'd like to invite Dr. Altoon Dweck, the sister of Ezra, to present the diploma to her brother, Ezra Dweck.
And Joshua Elson will be doing a residency in medicine at Maimonides Medical Center in New York.
And radiation oncology.
In radiation oncology.
Okay. Carolyn Emmerich will be doing family medicine. Lone Star Family Medicine program in Conroe, Texas.
Heidi France. Family medicine at St. Elizabeth Medical Center in Edgewood, Kentucky.
Stephen Gell will be doing surgery at Sunny Upstate Medical University in Syracuse, New York.
And here we have a family coming up. Sarah Guidi, doing internal medicine at Forest Hills, North Shore, Forest Hills, New York.
Je voudrais inviter Dr. Henri Hardy et Sylvie Hardy pour présenter le diplôme à son fils Samuel.
And I'll go back to English for Min Soo Kim, who's going to be doing urology at St. Louis University. Oh, sorry. Hold up. Félicitations. Now I'll get it right. Min Soo Kim, neurology, St. Louis University Hospital, St. Louis, Missouri.
General surgery, Jeremy Linson, University of Florida, Shands Hospital, Jacksonville.
And we'll call up now Brian McDonald.
Julia Marino, going to California to do clinical research in pediatrics.
Krishna Patluri will be doing hypertension research at Detroit Receiving Hospital.
David Ransom, our local lute player, wants you to know it was a privilege to study medicine in Israel.
Daniel Rhee, surgery at Mayo School of Graduate Medicine, Phoenix, Arizona.
I'd like to invite Dr. Arlie Musikan to present the diploma to his daughter, Lara. Lara Rosenblatt will be going to the Kantonsspital Baden in Switzerland.
I'd like to invite Dr. Robin Deutsch-Sokol to present the diploma to her daughter, Lindsay. Lindsay Sokol will be doing obstetrics and gynecology at Maimonides Medical Center in Brooklyn.
I'd like to invite Dr. William Stern to present the diploma to his son, Noam. Noam will be doing pediatrics at Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital in Cleveland, Ohio.
Shelley Theobald will be doing family medicine at Southwest Family Medicine Program, Vancouver, Washington.
I'd like to invite Dr. Frederick Tietz to present the diploma to his daughter, Anna. Annie Tubbins, what I call her, Southwest Washington Family Medicine in Vancouver, Washington.
good. Family medicine, the family medicine residency program, Anderson, South Carolina.
Last but not least, Dana Wang will be doing psychiatry at Harvard Medical School here in Boston Hospital in Boston, Massachusetts. There were several students that were not able to attend. I would like to read out their names. Benjamin Grunbaum, Rachel Horner, Yangpao Kim, Pridasharshini Kumar, Moshe Prero, Adrian Rosa McLean, Catherine Stunkel, and Kent Willis. Congratulations to you all.
Thank you, Professors Carney, Hakoin, Schreiber, Tarfield, and Deckelbaum. Toda rabba. It now gives me great pleasure to call upon Dr. James Downey, who was chosen by his classmates to make the valedictory address.
Distinguished faculty, guests, thank you for coming and melting with us. For the last time, my classmates. I have the obligation to Noam, Dana, and the admin not to pull an Asher. I'm still not really sure whether that refers to his rich presentation of Nepal or using this podium to present my own 6 minutes of truth. So here we are. We've come a long way from, you know what is lasagna? And, no, we don't have mustard. What do you think, that you're in France? I ran into a prospective student waiting in the admin offices last week that asked me to give my uncensored opinion of MSIH and going to medical school in Israel. The first words that popped into my head were cake break, because that might be what's causing you to wait in the office in the first place. But I landed on the word different instead. If I could sum up the last 4 years from start to finish in one word, it would be different. That's what this experience has been, different from what any other medical student can boast. When we began this journey together, each of us came with different backgrounds. We were architects, teachers, students, researchers, and rabbis. He is a rabbi. Some of us were fresh out of undergrad, others looking for a fresh start. We came with different motivations, visions, and agendas. Granted, many of us came with the same desire to learn international medicine and use it for the good of others, but we came at it with extremely different viewpoints on the actualization of those visions. Different is the word I'd use to describe Beersheba, along with Dusty. And we're leaving a very different city than the one we found 4 years ago. All these fancy new fountains. Beersheba, a city of fountains. We all know the mayor had them built to prevent the city from being known as Beersheba, city of cats. We're leaving different, changed, and we've learned some pretty important things along the way, like the value of a queue. Absolutely none whatsoever. Never leave your ood sitting around in the break room. It may be mistaken for a weapon of mass destruction. And you can quite handily get out of a speeding ticket on Shabbat by reminding the officer that he really shouldn't be writing on that day. My friends, 4 years ago we found ourselves packed into a small room, debating for hours about which quality was more appropriate to strive for as future physicians, sympathy or empathy. Allow me to have the final word. Sympathy is a feeling of pity. This is a direct dictionary quote. A feeling of pity for someone else's misfortune. I like to think that it can involve distance. Empathy is an ability to understand, to share and take part in their feelings. This is a familiarity. This is a nearness. One of my favorite examples of empathy in our field is the story of a rural healer whose heart was moved with compassion to heal every time he encountered the sick. He did this by acquainting himself with their suffering and placing himself in their shoes. His life revolved around this healing. You see, there's a difference between simply treating an illness and healing. The science of medicine, treatment, is a job that can be done from a distance. Anyone can read a book and learn how to do this. But the art, the healer's art, is a practice that involves nearness. It involves empathy. It involves placing ourselves in another's shoes. Throughout the last 4 years, we've had a lot of examples of what the term doctor has come to mean. Some inspirational, some horrendous. I want to encourage us to remember and look to those who taught us to heal. Why Israel? You should ask the graduates one more time for old time's sake. They've heard it a lot over the last 4 years, and the answers to that question are as diverse as my class. Here's my final take. Number 1, Luke Skywalker was raised on a harsh desert planet, and look what he accomplished with his life. Lawrence of Arabia is one of my favorite movies, and I've wanted to work with a Bedouin ever since seeing it for the first time. And finally, a fascination with David Ben-Gurion's vision for the Negev, the surpassing value of taking something that is seemingly lifeless and bringing life to it. What better place to learn the art of healing than in a place so seemingly in need of it? You have been my classmates. You will always be my friends. I am now honored to call you my colleagues. Honored because we have managed to complete a journey that few dare to undertake. And we have done it despite above average obstacles, heat, dust, the 2 cars which tried to simultaneously merge into me on my way over here today. No matter what next year brings, hold on to this accomplishment. Well done. Honored because I believe that many of you have the empathy necessary to practice not just medicine, but healing. I've seen it as we've strived for diagnoses and cures to seemingly incurable situations, and mourn the losses our sometimes failures brought. And honored because despite our still numerous differences, we are united by an ability to say that we have witnessed things that most people read and conjecture about. At the very least, our time here will serve as an excellent material for one-up stories in residency. A camping trip, eh? Did I ever tell you about the time I went camping in a minefield? Oh, you saw reactive PPD. One of my first patients had tuberculosis empyema. This one time when I was treating leprosy in Ethiopia. This one time when we were wading upstream to run a mobile clinic in a remote region of... and on and on. and will always remember babushkas, peanut butter and hummus, desert hangovers, plow roll reflections, parkour accidents. What is poverty? And Sandstorm by Darude. It's been different. In the end, I'm reminded of a US band on tour in Germany who used to end shows by yelling Stein auf to the crowd. The problem being that after one concert, a German fan asked them why they kept yelling stone on top of. So I guess I'm really just trying to end by saying, rock on.
Thank you, Dr. Downey. 5 more minutes. Prior to concluding, it is customary for our school to make special awards. I call upon Dr. Asher Moser, Associate Dean for Student Affairs, to address the issue.
Okay, I'd like to present 2 of the awards that we've been working on over the past year or so for this class. I'll start with the second one, the Gold Humanism Honor Society. This society is a U.S. national initiative of the Arnold P. Gold Foundation, and it honors medical students and physicians who demonstrate unusual commitment to service the community. The nomination is done through peer and faculty. Students are selected for demonstrating outstanding clinical abilities and compassion, in line with all the previous speakers, in caregiving. This year, we are delighted to announce that from MSIH, the following 6 have been elected. They all have received their badges. You can identify them by a little pin on their jackets. Dr. Kyle Vogt, Dr. Rachel Dunham, Dr. Noam Stern, Dr. Deborah Block, Dr. Min Sukim, and Dr. Rachel Horner. Please stand up and present yourselves so everybody can see. Thank you, guys. The second award I would like to present, we call it the Carmi Margolis Clinical Excellence Award. I'll say a few words about this award and explain how we get to it. For several years, we at MSIH have been debating how to distinguish in an excellent manner a student who's been recognized by both the clinical teaching staff and by their classmates to be harboring those specific qualities that are a hallmark of a good clinician. A combination of a sound scientific knowledge with the ability to be attentive to the patient's needs, body, and mind. To find the right person, a committee I chaired with Drs. Ganiel and Tandenter decided to create a scale translating those clinical achievements into scores reflecting these qualities. The weighted evaluations put the main emphasis on the student's evaluation by the personal tutors in the clinical departments. The clinical skills are tested and verified by the OSCE exams when applicable. Bonus points were graded for honors both here and in the United States during the 4th year. In addition, the cross-assessment by the students and both parts of the USMLE Step 2, which is the clinical part, are weighted in. I would at this point like to ask one of my best mentors I've ever had, Professor Carmi Margolis, to come up here and to actually present the award. To this effect, it is with great pleasure and honor for me to present this year's winner. With 5 out of 7 evaluations in her 3rd year marked with honors, 2 more in the 4th, highly marked by her classmates, as a GHSS recipient. The only flaw I could find in the entire file was one single failure in first year. Therefore, nobody is perfect. I'd like to say that in the application process, and beware whatever you put on applications, she had committed to be a physician when she was 3 years of age, and her favorite organ is the placenta. Please welcome Dr. Nikki Brody, this year's alumni.
I have to say, I'm not supposed to say anything, so. Here, Mark just said correct, but I have to say that it's a privilege to be able to present this award to such deserving people and to Nikki in particular. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moser and Professor Carney. Professor Alan Jorkovits, Associate Dean of Academic Affairs, will announce this year's award for Outstanding Teacher.
I'd like to take this opportunity to give my warm personal congratulations to the class and welcome you to the greatest profession in the world, being a doctor. Every year we have tremendous faculty at MSH, and every year we decide to honor one faculty member for their teaching and contributions to MSH. This year's award winner has been responsible for developing, coordinating, and teaching in the psychiatry clerkship since MSH has started. He also developed and coordinated the Healer's Art course, is overall a good guy and also a mentor to many students, particularly those going into psychiatry. We have many in this year's class. So I'd like to ask Dr. Mike Matar to stand up and to thank him for all his efforts. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I call upon Dr. Clarfield to conclude our ceremony.
There's a little surprise here that no one knows about. Mr. Diamond. Thank you. Can you please stand here? Mr. Diamond didn't know about this any more than you knew about your award. It's not a formal part of the ceremony, but we have to honor someone who runs this ceremony so well each year, and he knows nothing about this interruption. He'll probably have words with me about it later. But I have to take a minute. I have to take 1 minute to recognize his contribution to the school. In order to do so, I can't think of a better person to quote than myself. And I do so from a letter I wrote to students just a few weeks ago. Quote, "After being my right-hand person ever since I started this job as school director, Mr. Michael Diamond will be taking a leave of absence from BGU, from the university, where he's worked for the past 16 years. We'll all miss his quiet demeanor, his understated sense of humor, above all his efficient and steady approach to the challenging task of MSIH's administrative director. We'll also miss his accent. It is said that no person in any organization is indispensable, but I have to wonder about this saying in Mr. Diamond's case. I personally will very, very much miss working alongside him, and as I'm sure all of us. We are, however, very fortunate to have found a most able replacement for his position in Ms. Leora Nowie. Leora, are you here? Oh, in the back, okay. She's standing in the back. She comes to us from this side of the hill in her position at the Kreitman School of Postgraduate Studies at BGU. She's already spent a couple of weeks working together with Mike, getting to know us, the MSH staff, and sitting in with Mike, learning the ropes. Returning to Mike, we will all very much miss you. Wait. As a token of our appreciation to him, we wanted to buy him a helicopter, but it wouldn't. He's already got one. Thank you. And we also would like to just briefly invite up another dynamic duo, trio, I didn't see, okay, for a brief presentation, and then we'll call it a night. Yes?
Good evening. I quite clearly remember the first moments that I saw Mike. He came rolling into the orientation room on a folding red bicycle and proceeded to explain that he's not a doctor and that what we would receive here is an education at MSIH. Mike, your advice was sound, and I think that by now most people have probably forgiven you and perhaps even appreciate the introductory air raid sirens that you played for us on your smartphone. We owe you a sincere thank you for all the hard work and innovative ideas that you've brought to our program, for all the cultural translations and help navigating the red tape that comes along with the medical education. But mostly, we need to thank you for helping us meet all of our goals and becoming physicians and global health practitioners. So now as it's your turn to go off and pursue your dreams, we as students thought that it would only be fitting for you to join the graduating class with the title of doctor. And so, we've prepared for you a special white coat, and inscribed on it, we'll have you put this on. It says Dr. Michael Diamond, for a very special department. It's not so well known at Soroka, but it's the Department of Geekiatrics. And I'll spare you a full roast right now, but the degree committee looked very fondly upon your custom-engineered Raspberry Pi-based LED light shows that you've been known to broadcast live over the internet. Mike actually, right before the ceremony, mentioned to me that his Raspberry Pi is in fact running this entire ceremony with a custom Python program that he's created. So I'll let you work out the paperwork with the rector in terms of the degree, but we trust that this coat will become a permanent staple in your wardrobe and that you'll wear it in all of your future mad scientist innovations and of course at your upcoming job interviews. So thank you very much and good luck.
Surprised? I'd like to give a special thanks to the MSH staff, most of them sitting over there, but not only in Beersheba, for all their hard work during the year. Nothing would have happened without them, especially for this evening to Anat Zer, who, without complaint, efficiently and beautifully organizes this every year. Thanks to all of you. Immense thanks to our staff in New York and to the University administration for ongoing assistance, ongoing assistance. Graduating class, this is your moment. Stand up, please. Hold your hats in your right or left hand, depending on which is dominant. And on the count of 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
I call upon front-year students Ma'ayan Melamed and Jessica Wilson to accompany us on Israel's national anthem, Hatikvah. Audience, please rise.
Nefesh Yehudi, Omiyah.
Thank you. The audience is requested to remain in place until the academic parade leaves the stage. The graduates of the class of 2013. Thank you all for coming.